When Syray revealed how he was able to reconstruct Bryan Kohberger's movements, I knew something about that software and the way it was and is used that probably gives me a perspective unique among Idaho4 creators. Then Syray started giving interviews, and I've gone back and forth about whether to make this video ever since, because that little detail may explain how Syray has found himself in an extraordinary position. He can tell the world what he personally saw about a man that he now believes is guilty without betraying Ann Taylor or the defense and without helping the prosecution. And if I'm right about how he's doing it, it's brilliant. When people talk about Syray's analysis, it's easy to reduce it to cell towers and Bryan Kohberger's phone. But Syray had another analytical resource available to him, a commercial system that could look backwards in time and provide historical information useful for reconstructing movement and pattern of life. That's the system I also have a license to. Now, I need to establish an important boundary here. I don't have Mr. Kohberger's data. I don't have Syray's project. I don't have some secret copy of his analysis. And nothing I'm going to show you or discuss comes from the Kohberger case. But what I do have is firsthand knowledge of how this particular system works. And there's something about it that becomes very important when we're listening to Syray. This is how the date range of the system works. Look at the historical options. Last year, last 2 years, last 3 years. And that's where it stops. It's a rolling window. I couldn't go back more than 3 years if I wanted to. Syray conducted his analysis while the relevant historical data was still available. Today I have my own license to the same system, and I can't go back and recreate what he saw. What I can tell you is the limitation of the system itself and why the date on Syray's report becomes important. January 23rd, 2025. When this report was filed, there were only about 9 months and 3 weeks left on that retention clock within that commercial software platform. And for any pattern of life analysis from before November 13th, there was even less time. So now look at what Syray wrote when that window was still open. Special Agent Redacted has tremendous resources at his disposal to seek out other geolocation data that would confirm his current unsupported theories. Some of this very detailed geolocation data is available to Special Agent Redacted without a warrant and includes databases that go back well beyond the time frame of this investigation. Remember, Syray is a defense expert. I don't read this as Syray generously giving the prosecution investigative advice. He's criticizing the investigation. He's essentially saying, you have the resources to independently corroborate these theories, and apparently you haven't done it. Then he names 2 of those resources. In the event Special Agent Redacted believed that Mr. Kohberger's device was at or near the crime scene at any one of his 23 time periods listed in his report, he has the ability to corroborate that theory with other geolocation data through Google and Fog Reveal mobile advertiser databases. That's different from Syray saying the prosecution wanted to go get that information. What matters to me is much simpler. By 23 January 2025, the existence of those historical data sources and their potential relevance to those 23 periods was right there in the defense expert's report, and the clock was still running. But there's another detail in Syray's report that I think matters even more. Syray is perfectly willing to tell us when Mr. Kohberger isn't in a data set. He writes, several types of geofence data dumps and cell tower data dumps were used in the course of the investigation. Mr. Kohberger's device was not identified in any of these. That's a remarkably important sentence, because look at what happens when Syray discusses the historical advertiser data. He doesn't say Kohberger wasn't there. He says investigators could use Google and Fog Reveal mobile advertiser data to corroborate those 23 time periods. And immediately before that, he tells us detailed geolocation data was available and went back well beyond the time frame of the investigation. So Syray knew how to write the sentence, Kohberger wasn't found. He wrote it when that was true of the geofence data. He conspicuously does not write it when discussing the historical advertiser data. I'm not going to turn that omission into evidence that Mr. Kohberger was there. but I am going to remember it because now Syray is giving interviews telling us what he says he found. And when his expert opinion was filed, the database had a clock still running on it for historical dates before the crimes, progressively less. So the question isn't, did investigators follow Syray's advice? I don't think that's the right characterization. The question is, once this capability was identified in the defense expert's report, did anyone preserve the relevant historical data before the window closed? I don't know. Syray may know. And that's why I hear these interviews differently from most Idaho4 creators. Syray worked for Mr. Kohberger's defense. I don't know the terms of that relationship or where every confidentiality boundary lies, but he doesn't need to tell us what Ann Taylor told him to tell us what he saw. And if that historical data wasn't preserved, Syray may now occupy an extraordinary position, as I opened with. He saw it when it existed. He may know whether anyone else kept it. You nor I, or even the prosecution, can't go back and retrieve it. But he can still tell us what he saw. And that's Syray's extraordinary asymmetry. And maybe it's how he cleanses his soul about a man he helped defend and now believes is guilty. He can even offer the family some reassurance that the man who admitted to these crimes is, in Syray's professional judgment, the right man without betraying the defense that hired him. And if that's what he's doing, it's brilliant. If you like my videos and how I present the information, please subscribe and like the video.